Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Welcome into First Pitch for April 19th. We're breaking down the Tuesday night card. $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. Great day to check out the website. I am Drew Martin, joined by Dave Koken and Steve Merrill to break down the games going around the horn here. Happy Tuesday morning to you, Dave. Welcome into the show.
Thank you, Drew. Been looking at some really interesting stats and found one that, if you want some evidence that the ball is de-juiced, if you want to call it that way. Contact with exit velocity of over 95 miles an hour, which would be, in the StatCast era, that would be considered hard hit. Slugging percentage has always been, pretty high. This year it's down like 100 points from where it normally is. Now, it could be a short-term thing, but and it's cold weather and whatever. But, I mean, right now it looks like the pitchers are in control of Major League Baseball. So some of these teams that rely on the home run, they could be in trouble.
Sure, Dave. Great point. I was looking into that some myself, and you bring up the cold weather. Got to remember, we started, a week later? So when you're comparing, like, game to game, it might not actually be as cold. I'm not really sure. We're going to need some weather experts out there, but also the humidifier part of it. Yeah. Steve, we got to get you in here, man. Welcome into the show. Happy Tuesday morning to you, Steve.
Yeah, guys, one thing I love about baseball, obviously, is I'm a numbers guy, and baseball is like every sport combined in just one season with numbers. And,
right.
Of course, with any short sample size, we have to be a little cautious. It could just be a blip. As Dave said, it is colder in April, so you're always going to see a little bit more run production in June and July. But one other point that you guys didn't mention, of course, is the limited spring training with the lockout. And I think you can make some arguments. Maybe the offenses are a little off kilter because of that. So a lot of different things, and it could just be a short sample, Dave. Right? I mean, so it's hard to know for sure, but it's something to keep an eye on.
Here's the thing, though. It's still, we're only talking on balls where the contact was more than 95 miles an hour. So I'm not sure that matters on spring training. I mean, if you hit the ball at better than 95 miles an hour, you either do or you don't. And hard-hit balls are just not traveling as far. So, unless it's Vladimir Guerrero Jr., in which case it doesn't matter. But I think there is something to it, and it'll be interesting to see if we all of a sudden get a different baseball snuck into the game because, let's face it, the powers that be in MLB, they want home runs.
Yeah, and Dave, just to follow up to that before we get into the games, I mean, is that something you're looking for, the actual baseball being changed? Do you think it's a humidifier thing? What are you looking for?
What I'm looking for is to explain why some teams that rely on the home run might be in some trouble. I think the Yankees fall into that category. I think the Red Sox fall into that category. But the Red Sox have no speed. They have attempted one stolen base so far, and they're 0 for 1. It's tough to manufacture runs for these teams who rely so much on the homer. So, I think it's something that bears watching. If home runs are going to be decreased significantly, it's going to favor the teams that play more small ball. That's just the way I see it. So I'm going to factor that into my handicapping.
Absolutely. Good stuff, Dave. Guys, we got the games to break down right now, bringing up Vladimir Guerrero, also the Boston Red Sox in our first game. Heading to the AL East here, Dave, we get Kikuchi, the 30-year-old Japanese pitcher, the southpaw going up against Eovaldi, minus 135 favorites. That's the Red Sox at home. We're seeing them as high as minus 140, as you see there on the graphic. A 9.5 as the total, 7:10 Eastern start here, Dave, in Fenway. You liking anything, Blue Jays and Red Sox?
Now, it's a conflict for me in this game because, I'll give Eovaldi the edge over Kikuchi, particularly with Kikuchi not looking sharp to start the season. So the pitching, I think, does favor Boston. But the offense clearly favors Toronto. They're they're just smashing the baseball. I wrote down the WR. I mean, 127 against righties so far. That's pretty big. So this doesn't seem to be impacting them at all. And I just can't, in good conscience, consider laying that kind of a price with the Red Sox against the Blue Jays. Toronto's just a better baseball team. So, I mean, in terms of value, even though I don't like the starting pitching matchup, everything else to me favors the Blue Jays. So I would have to lean to that side.
Yeah, Steve, coming to you next. I mean, I agree with Dave. We get the better bullpen. We get the better lineup with the Jays, at least in my opinion, at a plus price. What are you thinking here in Fenway tonight?
Yeah, I was actually on the show last week. I believe it was last Wednesday, I guess, or actually maybe it was last Tuesday. But anyway, when Garrett Cole pitched against Toronto, and actually I did wager talk today, so it was last Wednesday because the Prez said I'll take the Blue Jays, plus 155 anytime I get them at this price range. And they did win that game as the biggest dog of the season they've been. They've been a dog now 4 times. It was actually all 4 games, I believe, at New York last week. They went 2-2 in those games. They got shut out in 2 of them, 7-0 combined, and then they won the other 2 9-4. So it's kind of feast or famine. Garrett Cole, by the way, getting back to the initial discussion about velocity and all the other things, he's a guy when they did make some changes mid-season last year, he was like number 1 on my radar. Him and Bauer, and of course, Bauer took himself out for personal reasons with other stuff off the field problems. But Garrett Cole was the guy I thought number 1 to watch and a guy to be very careful with. So tread lightly. The Blue Jays did win that game. I think a lot had to do with Cole. Still, though, I agree with you guys and what you said, Drew. It's hard not to take the better team plus money in this situation. Definitely the better offensive team. And even if you look at the bullpen numbers, they've had the better bullpen numbers overall, ERA and WHIP, better offensive numbers. And I think the starting pitching matchup is pretty much a wash. So I'll take the plus money with Toronto.
Looking towards the Jays in the first game. Guys, we're going to head to the AL West for our next matchup here. LA Angels, Houston Astros. We get Patrick Sandoval, the southpaw, former 11th rounder in 2015 out of Mission Viejo High School in Southern California, up against Framber Valdez. Going for the Astros, we're seeing a minus 150 price tag here. Steve, total of 8. What are you thinking here, Angels and Stros?
Yeah, and as we've seen with a lot of these pitchers, something else to point out, these guys aren't going deep. And that's the case when Clayton Kershaw was pulled after 80-some pitches with a perfect game in 7 innings last week. We talked about it on the show. I used him as a free best bet here on the show last night, Dodgers run line. But I bring that up because these 2 guys, at least Sandoval in his 1 start, went 4 innings, gave up 3 hits, good outing, but 3 walks, which is a concern. 6 strikeouts, 3 walks. So control is a little bit of an issue last week back on April 12th. Against the Marlins. We'll see if it's better tonight. 2 lefties on the mound, something else to factor in. I do look at left-handed stats. It's a little early in the season to have any concrete numbers. One thing for Houston, haven't played a lot of home games. 1 home game where they put up 8 runs there. And this is a situation where I do think they're going to start hitting the ball better. They cooled off. They had the 13 runs against the Angels last week or a couple weeks ago, that opening series, and they really cooled off. In fact, they scored 4 runs or less in every other game this season until last night when they went 8-3. So it does look like that offense is maybe heating up a bit. LA had 3 runs, but only 6 hits. So I'll lean towards the Astros here. I think we're catching them at home, maybe with some momentum.
I like that stat, Steve, of the Astros scoring all those runs in just 1 home game. Kind of interesting there. Dave, coming to you next. Framber Valdez had 5 walks his last time out. That's something that worries me here, but minus 150 price tag. What are you thinking?
Well, I really like Sandoval a lot. And I'm going to give him a little asterisk on the first start because he'd been out. It was his first game coming off a little bit of an injury. He was still getting swing and miss stuff in there. Valdez at home is ridiculous. I mean, he's just not a guy you want to go against. And I don't know what the Angels are going to have in the field tonight. Mike Trout is day-to-day. The X-rays were negative in the hand, but he obviously didn't play yesterday, and I'm not sure whether he'll play today or not. We'll be looking for the lineups in that. Rendon didn't play yesterday. I mean, if both those guys are out, I think you have to consider the Astros more. But I don't like laying a price to Sandoval. I think he is a guy who's still kind of under the radar for a lot of fans and bettors, but he was really good last year for the Angels. He's figured things out and is, to me, an upper echelon, maybe not an elite pitcher yet, but an upper echelon guy. So I think the pitching matchup here is fairly close. But I really don't relish the thought of going against Houston. I think the price maybe indicates a little value on the Angels, but I took the Angels' first 5 yesterday. That didn't work out. I think I'll leave it alone this time.
Fair enough, Dave. We got one more game, guys. Huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody joining us live. Nathan Cantor in the house. We got Mario, Anthony Trebelli, Holy Bananas, maybe with the comment of the day in the Wager Talk chat box here saying, when is Trout not hurt? He's the JJ Watt of baseball. Thought that one was funny. So, hey, to Dave's point, it's something to watch here, guys. I mean, the Angels lineup could be a lot different lineup with some of their heavy hitters out of it. So something to watch there. And anybody watching on replay? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Dave.
I mentioned Fletcher's been on the injured list as well. Not that he's one of the big bats, but he's still, he's an important guy. So the Angels, again, having the injury problems, which seems to be an annual issue with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So something to watch there, guys, in the lineups as they come out during the day. And reminder, feel free to reply below on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Where you're agreeing with us, where you're disagreeing with us. Watch out for the baseball here, the humidifiers. What's going on there with the hard hit rate, like Dave was talking about early in the show. Interested in everybody's opinion down below. We got one more game and best bets at the end, guys. We actually got the worst team in baseball, at least record-wise, Cincinnati Reds, going with Reiver Sanmartin, the lefty, the 26-year-old from Cartagena, Colombia. He actually looked good. Kind of a difficult handicap here, Dave, because his first start he got blown up, and then his next start he actually looks pretty good, going up against the Padres and Musgrove, seeing a minus 200 price tag, as high as minus 210 there on the graphic, with a low total here, 7.5 in Petco. What are you liking in Southern California tonight, Dave?
I don't think it's a difficult handicap at all. I think if you can, at this point, if you simply make a 1% bet against the Reds every game, and in stronger situations, you can up that. But I think that's about what I'm going to do. They are awful. They can't do anything. They can pitch. Their starting pitching might be okay, but the bullpen's no good. The offense isn't any good. They can't catch the ball. And management, this is the reason I made a pretty big bet on the Reds to be under their win total this year. Management's already sent a clear message that they don't give a shit, okay? It's as simple as that. They don't care. And I think that message has already been sent clearly to the team, and they're responding the way they are. Jonathan India got hurt. Joey Votto is trying like 3 different stances in every ball game right now. He's a complete mess. And the rest of the team that was productive offensively last year is basically playing on other rosters this year. This is the worst team in Major League Baseball. I like the Padres.
Good stuff, Dave. I like those stats. And Coin saying Cincinnati is minus 26 run differential already, 11 games into the season. It's looking ugly. Steve, the way I handicap this, low total, 7.5. I know we've gone over this, and a minus 200 favorite. My first look is towards the underdog, because the market's telling us this might be a lower scoring game, because Sanmartin, he does look good when you watch him pitch. But to Dave's point here, I mean, Cincinnati just not looking good. They've lost 5 straight. And anytime, you've been doing this successfully longer than me, Steve, when a team goes on a road trip and they get a 4-game sweep, meaning they got swept against the LA Dodgers, they lose the first game in Petco, and now it's game 2. You kind of learn little tricks of the trade. You're either fading that team or staying away. It's tough to kind of jump on this, but there is a big plus price tag with the Reds. I guess that is something there, but I don't know, man. Are you interested in getting involved tonight, late night?
Yeah, one thing about baseball, we talk about value with all the point spreads. Every half a point in basketball and football makes an extra 3%, 4% chance of winning or pushing and not losing. But with baseball, if you don't pick the winner, it don't matter if you're getting 20-1 on the Reds tonight. That's the bottom line. So baseball is always unique because it's a battle of value and being able to compete. And as you've heard me say many times, don't try to catch that falling knife. This is a Cincinnati team that's just lost 13-2 combined their last 2 games. They've scored exactly 1 run in 3 of their last 4 losses. They've had 2 runs or less in the last 4 games. With that said, and I agree with Dave, they're not a good team. We always have to be a little cautious. We talked about small sample sizes earlier in the show with, the baseball stats. Let's look at who Cincinnati has played so far. They've only had 2 home games all season. They lost them both to Cleveland. I get that. But their other 9 games have all been on the road against Atlanta, the Dodgers, and the Padres, maybe the 3 best teams in the National League, 3 of the best teams in baseball. So there will be some value, Drew, to your point, in the near future with Cincinnati, because they're probably not as bad as their numbers are looking. But I'm not going to try to catch that falling knife tonight. It's 7 straight losses, by the way. and their offense is really struggling. So maybe we do play the under 7.5. Seven's always a key number. Cincinnati is not hitting the ball well, as I've well established here. 3 runs or less now in 6 straight games, single-digit hits in all of those. But San Diego's not exactly crushing the ball either. If you take out that 12-1 win against Atlanta a few games back, they have basically scored 4 runs or less in their other 6, or actually their other 7 games on each side. They've had 2 runs or less in 5 of those other 7 games. So I don't want to lay a 1.5 here with San Diego struggling. I don't want Cincinnati. Under 7.5 makes sense.
Like it, Steve. Good analysis there. Dave, before we get to best bets, just a follow-up question to you. Our friend Teddy covers. It's something he does in the NFL. Granted, it's a different sport, but a team that loses week 1 and loses and does not look good, gets blown out, he always brings up the philosophy, the next couple weeks, they actually might make money because the market is so down on them. And to Steve's point, losing 7 straight games, do you think the Reds could fall into that category, or no way?
No.
It's Fade City.
No.
Okay.
This is a team. I don't think they'll win 55 games. See, in football, you get point spread value comes into play in football. But as Steve was mentioning, it's different on the money line, and the line hasn't caught up with them yet, in my opinion.
Right.
I think you can make a good case that the line tonight should be around 240. This team sucks.
Right, and Dave, if they're gonna win 55 games, you'd have to get over $2 every win to break even.
Yep.
So you're exactly right. That's exactly the point. This line, if they're a 55 win team, they need to be like in the plus 250 range every game if you're going to play them just to break even.
It's also a different mindset because in the NFL, you might see some tanking late in the season, but basically, these guys are all out to win every game. This is an unusual situation in Cincinnati. They were a pretty good team last year. Ended up with a winning record. And management just basically gave away the whole team in the offseason. They're playing all over the place now, not in Cincinnati. And management, the ownership has basically come right out and said, not in these exact words, but if you read between the lines, they have said, we don't care. They're not trying to win. Well, that has an effect on the clubhouse.
Well said, Dave. Yeah, it's tough to bet those teams that aren't even winning 60 games because, to your point, it's 2 different sports. There's no point spread value. They got to win the game for you to cash the ticket, and unless you're getting huge plus prices. So, hey, love the conversation. Thanks for that, Dave. Yeah,
I think that when Hunter Green's on the mound, you'll probably see a more focused effort because he's very exciting, and I think the team will feel like they've got a chance when he's out there. Maybe Tyler Mahle, although he's not been nearly as effective since the spin rate thing happened, because he was a huge spin rate guy last year, and his numbers tailed off after the this no sticky stuff rule came into effect. I just think you could almost blind bet against this team and make money.
Like it. Dave Koken. Look for him on WagerTalk, guys. We got a best bet coming up. I believe it's his client play or a client play as well. So it pays to watch the show. First pitch, Steve Merrill as well. Reminder here, it is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. Feel free to comment below. Huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody liking the conversation, throwing out plays here. We got best bet time, guys. We'll get after it here. The first game we talked about, this is my best bet, Toronto Blue Jays at the Boston Red Sox. Kikuchi versus Eovaldi. I think we get the better hitting team, and we get the better bullpen here with the Blue Jays at plus $1.25 here, plus 125. Risk 100 to win 125 on the Jays. Kikuchi, look, his numbers surface level weren't good in his first start. However, if you look at the hard hit rate, it really wasn't that bad. The velocity was there. So I would look for him to bounce back here. I think we get a decent start from him. And Toronto plus 125. Best bet for me. We got Dave Koken here. He broke it down. Great analysis across the show. Dave, I'll throw it over to you. What do you got for best bets today?
If you go back to last season, Jesus Luzardo was really bad for Oakland. So bad they sent him down to Las Vegas. He was just a mess with his mechanics. They brought him back up, and he wasn't any better. Traded him to Miami and kind of struggled there. Until late in the season, you started to see some improvement. I think he got coached up and got his mechanics back in order. he was a go against last year. If he was on the mound, just bet the other team. You might be seeing the flip side of it here. This guy has got a slider that it's incredible. It's one of the best sliders in baseball. He looked tremendous in his first start. I think he had 12 strikeouts in 5 innings. Had a great spring, and he looks now like the guy who was on his way up in the Oakland organization, one of the best prospects in the game. I think he's a go with right now. And I took the Marlins first 5 tonight. I know the Cardinals have just obliterated left-handers so far to start the season, but I think Luzardo is going to contain them tonight. Wainwright was not good in his last start. And look, he's at the point now. He's so crafty. He can get by, but, I mean, the guy can't break glass. And if he's not on with his command, he can get knocked around. And he was not good in the Milwaukee start. Maybe an under, but I think the better bet here is the Marlins first 5 with Luzardo.
Like it, Dave. Going with the Fish against the Redbirds there. And, hey, plus the Marlins playing a little bit better at home. 3-1 out the gate in the Fish tank. So we got Steve Merrill here as well, WagerTalk.com. Steve, what do you got for final thoughts? Best bet for the show, bud?
Going to look at a free baseball play on the national TV late night card at 10 o'clock Eastern on TBS for Tuesday night, a game that was just a bit outside from making the cut. But a quick reminder, I've got 4 games that made the cut tonight. 2 strong bets in baseball, 2 strong best bets in the NBA playoffs. This is the biggest and deepest weeknight card I've had in the entire month of April. So I made a 4-for-1 special right now for one price, one package. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. NBA playoffs, sides up over 100 units the past 12 months. Got 2 strong ones tonight. MLB totals #1 last year at WagerTalk.com. Get 4 best bets on one package tonight. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com for Tuesday. Game that just missed the cut, as you know, just a bit outside, and that's the LA Dodgers -145. That's the TBS national TV game at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight on Tuesday. Used the Dodgers as a free play last night on Monday. We used the run line. They've covered every game. All 8 wins have been by margin by 2 or more this year, so definitely nothing wrong with looking at the -1.5 plus 130 run line. But I'm going to play the money line because I think this game might be a little bit tighter. The Atlanta Braves offense did wake up in the second half of the game last night. Dodgers got out to a quick 6-0 lead as expected. Kershaw got a little tired in the 5th and 6th inning, and they gave up 4 runs there. Atlanta actually ended up with 10 hits on the game. So I'm going to play the money line here. I think it'll be a tighter game, but I'm not going against this Dodgers team. Hottest team in baseball. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder after losing to this Atlanta Brave team in the NLCS. They got their revenge win last night. I think they get another one tonight. They keep their foot on the gas. This is a team that's averaging almost a 1.5 more per game than the Braves this year. Home road numbers are extreme. Dodgers 6.5 runs at home, 287 batting average. The Braves 3.2 runs, 226 on the road. Get a better pitcher here too. I'm worried about Max Fried. You know, 2 bad outings. You often look for a guy to bounce back, but let's keep in mind those outings came against the Reds and Nationals, both at home, 2 of the worst offensive teams in baseball, and he still struggled, giving up 15 hits and giving up 8 runs in just under 11 innings. So I think Fried is struggling now. We're going to take the Dodgers, better pitcher, better bullpen, better offense with focus. LA Dodgers lay the short price. This is one of the shortest prices you're going to get with the Dodgers all season at home. So we'll play the money line -145 LA Dodgers. Don't forget, hit subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below. Let us know your thoughts on the Tuesday night card. And check out my 4 strong best bets for Tuesday night baseball and basketball. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Couldn't have said it any better. In recap here, we get Steve Merrill on the Dodgers, -145, -142 if you're in Vegas at South Point. That is the nightcap, if you will, on tonight's card. I'm on the Jays a little earlier in the night, AL East battle, +125 underdog there. And Dave Koken on the Fish, first 5, pick 'em price, -110, let's call it. So those are the 3 best bets out there, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Please smash that like button, comment below. Huge shout out to the chat box for Steve Merrill, Dave Koken. I am Drew Martin. Best of luck with your bets. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Thanks for tuning in.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.